to a hospital.
To see Evelyn.
Oven.
Yeah.
Evelyn.
It sounds like oven.
Evelyn.
Evelyn.
May 30th, 2019 was one of the most precious days of my life.
You're gonna be a brother. You are a brother. You're a big brother.
I got to welcome the newest member of our family into this world.
She's tiny.
She's really tiny. I've never
5 pounds, 12 ounces.
never held a baby so tiny.
What do you think of your baby? Luke's baby.
I cherish moments like this more than ever now because I know what it's like to only hear about them secondhand. One of the hardest parts of chronic illness is missing out on these once-in-a-lifetime events. While my parents were meeting my nephew Luke for the first time, I was stuck in bed. No matter how many times I missed out, it was never easy. I'd go numb emotionally and try to distract myself with a podcast or phone call with a friend. But on one special occasion, I realized that just because I couldn't be there didn't mean that I couldn't be a part of those memories. I'm Jason Herderick, and this is Discomfort Zone, part of the Invisible Not Broken podcast network. Today, I've got a story dating back to 2017. I found myself in a situation similar to the one we're all grappling with right now. I present The Night of the Speech.
We would also like to sincerely thank Lisa for the love and continuing support she has been for her younger brother Jason and our entire family throughout his illness. And yes, he is getting better.
That's my mom giving a speech at my sister Lisa's wedding back in 2017. I wasn't able to be there. At the time, I couldn't sit for more than an hour at a time without debilitating pain. Lisa got married a 6-hour drive from my house in Toronto, which I just couldn't handle. It's really, really hard for me to accept that I won't be at the wedding. This is supposed to be the best day of Lisa and Rod's lives. They're committing to spending the rest of their lives together in this monumental ceremony where our families come together to rejoice in their everlasting love. And then they get drunk and dance like idiots. And I won't even be a part of it. When life hands you lemons, you're supposed to make lemonade. Life had just handed me a bunch of wheatgrass. I wasn't making juice. That stuff tastes like dirt. The only thing to do was throw it in the trash and sulk in the corner. In the weeks leading up to the wedding, I was doing just that. Then, one day while I was checking my voicemail, I received some metaphorical limes.
Hey Jason, it's your Uncle Barry calling. Your mom told me you're not going to be able to make it to the wedding, and that's too bad, and I'm sure we're all going to miss you there. I had an idea, though, that I wanted to share with you. Had you considered doing a recording for a wedding toast, and somehow we'll figure out how to play it during the reception? Anyways, let me know what you think.
This was brilliant, an opportunity for me to take part in the wedding from my own home. I couldn't be there in person, but you can't change the fruit that you're dealt. If I couldn't make lemonade, I'd serve some mouth-watering limeade. It's really important that I give a heartfelt speech at Lisa's wedding. If you've listened to earlier episodes of the show, you'll know that we have a special bond.
I actually felt guilty for going to work some days because I knew you were sick, and I felt almost like I needed to be at home with you guys, trying to help everyone. I don't know. I felt like I needed to, part of my job as your sister was to touch base with you every day and just remind you that we all loved you and that we cared about you.
That was from our interview in episode 3 when Lisa and I revisited the darkest days of my illness. That wasn't the first time that she had my back.
When you were a baby and my grandfather was changing your diaper he had no idea how to change a diaper, and he put you in the bathtub and just kind of hosed you down. And apparently I was extremely concerned with this, and I probably told my mother what Grandpa had done, even though I was only just under 2 years older than you. So I would have been maybe 3 at the time. And I watched over Jason like a hawk and made sure that everyone changed his diapers properly. So I was always watching over you from the beginning.
you had that caring side of you.
It comes out once in a while.
It wasn't always there.
It definitely was not.
We know that, but in certain times it would come out. And just thinking back to childhood, one more memory that sprung to mind for me was when you were like the really, really rebellious one, or like the one who would really talk back. The rest, me and Carl were like, fuck, we don't want to get grounded for like a month here. Like maybe we should just shut up and like deal with the yelling, get scolded, and go to our rooms or whatever. Do you remember the time when, do you know the time I'm talking about?
I know the time that you're talking about, when our dad was going to ground us, or ground me anyways. And I think I was so mad at him that I just told him, why not add another week of me being grounded? And he was like, sure, I'll add another week. And I was like, well, let's just keep adding weeks here. Why don't we? And I don't think I actually fulfilled all of the weeks that I was actually grounded for, but I just remember I was the stubborn one who would just kind of stand up to him and speak up and not be okay with just kind of being scolded all the time.
Yeah. I think you guys got up to like a couple months at that point, and
I think so.
yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm grounded for a week, then I can go back to watching TV, and I'm like, oh fuck, Lisa, man, she was really, yeah. I think you were like a little bit upset with me after. You're like, why the hell did I have to be the only one? Like, why couldn't you?
I took one for the team. I felt that was my responsibility, and I just wish I had other teammates to also share the burden with me.
Are there any other stories from childhood that I missed?
I don't think you mentioned the time when Carl pushed you off the couch when we were watching the Santa Claus parade. And I distinctly remember that. We had this old kind of fabric corduroy type couch. And I distinctly remember I was sitting on the fireplace. Mom and Dad were downstairs or doing something else. And Carl was basically sprawled out on the couch, and you were sitting at the foot of it. You just grabbed a seat. You must have only been coming up to 2 or 3 years old at most, probably 2. And I just remember Carl was really not happy that you were there, and it was his moment, his time to watch the Santa Claus parade, and you were in his way or in his visual field. And he basically karate chopped or karate kicked you off the couch, and you ended up falling on your wrist. And I distinctly remember me running downstairs to go grab Mom and Dad, and you ended up being coming back from the hospital with a nice big cast on your wrist, and you had some really cute baby photos from that, just hanging around in diapers with this giant cast on your arm. But that was a good memory, not in the fact that you got hurt, but in the fact that I felt like I was the savior of the day, and I saved you. And I still remember to this day, Mom and Dad still think I had something to do with it, and they think I was the bad one by somehow tattletaling. I don't even know, but Carl was the bad guy in that story. There's also another story where my mom and dad used to bathe us together, and we would often have baths together since we were so close in age, only 2 years apart. And at one point, I think Mom and Dad must have left us. I don't feel like that's awful parenting to leave 2 toddlers in a bathtub alone. But I distinctly remember calling Mom back and just saying, Jason pooed in the bathtub. And there was literally multiple logs of poo in the bathtub, and it was just floating, and it was disgusting. I think that was the last tub shower that we ever had together.
Okay, that was a lot to throw on me all at once.
You asked for stories that you missed. You didn't bring attention to that one.
First of all, I was 3 years old when Carl broke my wrist, and it's been a memory I've been trying to suppress for several years, so that's why I didn't mention it. But thank you for bringing that memory back to my attention.
I just wanted to also bring to your attention that I did save the day, and I actually facilitated you getting medical attention.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go talk to my psychologist to work through this memory over again. But thank you very much for bringing that up. And secondly, I'm definitely editing that second part out.
I don't think you should, Jason.
I'm going to delete it.
Bowel movements are a normal part of life, and I think you should embrace that. Do you remember the time, speaking of which, do you remember the year that you wanted to be a toilet for Halloween?
And no matter what everyone else said to you, you put your foot down and you said, I want to be a toilet for Halloween. And you walked around all the way around the neighborhood, knocking on everyone's doors dressed as a toilet. You're lucky no one shat on you. You might have to edit that one out too. This is why people don't do podcasts live. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on, Lisa.
You're welcome. No more questions?
No more questions.
Okay.
Interview over. And that's Lisa for you. Can you tell that she wasn't always the easiest sister to grow up with? That being said, she's got a very big heart. Her fiancé Rod is a lucky guy. Rod wasn't available for an interview, and this story is more about Lisa and our relationship, but I just want to say, welcome to the family, Rod. It was time to crank out my speech. A week before the wedding, I was putting the finishing touches on it when my Uncle Barry dropped by.
Do you want to say anything to your sister?
No.
How would you
I'm
want?
not going to be showing it.
Well, just try it. You gonna no.
I've got something written out.
But when you go up, are you gonna say anything to hide the people? You don't just talk like.
Barry, I've got something written out.
I do a lot of editing.
Okay.
I'll edit it. I do a lot of editing. I'll edit it. I do a lot of editing.
So do I, Barry.
Can you do humor?
Can I? I don't know. Why don't you wait and see? I'm not giving you a preview.
Oh, like you're snotty. Before you were nice until you got the camera. Now you got the camera with a tripod. Now you turn into a dick.
Now I'm a little egotistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, you gotta fight fire with fire.
So what would you say to your sister that you don't want to put on the tape?
I don't know. I'd probably make fun of her about a couple things.
Like what?
And Rod.
Not. Is it Ron or Rob?
It's Rod.
Rod.
Yeah. Come on, Barry.
I know it's Rod.
Is this recording right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't going to listen to someone who didn't even know the groom's name. I could tell that Barry was looking for a sneak peek, but no way. He'd have to wait till the night of the speech, like the rest of our family.
Yo, buddy.
Hey, how's it going, Jay?
Good.
There were 3 days left until the wedding. My friend Gordo dropped by to help out with my speech. All right, so I was thinking about starting off with something like, Dictionary.com defines marriage as any of the diverse forms of interpersonal union established in various parts of the world to form a familial bond that is recognized legally.
Hold on. Are you reading a Dictionary.com definition?
Well, I wanted to set the stage for the entire event and just kind of get everybody.
Are you reading that for me or for the? That's going in the speech.
This is going to be like the very beginning of the speech, just so
buddy.
everybody, just to give everyone perspective on the entire event.
It's not. We're not writing a lab report, buddy. This is a wedding speech.
So you really don't think it's a good idea?
I'm going to say 100% don't do it.
Okay. How about this then? Lisa hit a grand slam in Finding Rod. But just like baseball, you have to strike out many times before you hit one out of the park. Lisa did just that in her previous 14 relationships. There was Jordan, who was a really nice guy, but his body odor was ugh. Then there was Zach.
Would you say there's a reason that you're going over all these ex-boyfriends? It sounds kind of unnecessary to me. I think it's another bad idea, dude.
For some stupid reason, Gordo didn't like my first two ideas. It was time to showcase my number one talent. I can't be there, but I'm there in spirit. Lyrics so dope, hope y'all could hear. Rod inherits a wife he's stuck with for life. Your love is quite rare, I hope you're aware. She talks like a parrot, smells like a carrot. I hope you can bear it. Haha. Of course you can. If not, get a divorce, man.
Whoa! What the? Are you kidding me?
Did you think it was good? Did you like it?
I mean, it was pretty bad when she said she smells like a carrot, but then you can't say divorce. It's a wedding. Have you ever been to a wedding, man? Well, divorce? It's like saying Voldemort in Harry Potter. You just don't do it.
Okay, Gordo, I just really want the night of the speech to go perfectly. And it just seems like you're shutting down every single idea. Like,
did you just call it the night of the speech?
Well, what the hell do you think we've been working on for the last couple of hours?
A speech for your sister's wedding night, dude.
Okay.
It's not a wedding that's happening on the night of the speech. It's a speech that's happening on the night of the wedding.
Okay, Gordo, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. It's just, I can't do anything right. Everything I'm doing, you're just shutting down right away. Like, what the heck do you think I should do? Honestly, should I go up and just make fun of myself? Should I talk about the time I killed our pet gerbil? Or the time I forgot to take the plastic wrap off of the mac and cheese before I put it in the oven? Like, should I talk about the farting competitions that we had as kids? Is that the kind of crap that people want to hear?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, okay. All right.
Can you just do that?
Yeah. Gordo's narcissistic tendencies made him a pain in the ass to work with. But in the end, we recorded my speech and emailed it to the wedding DJ. I was a mother dove watching her offspring fly away from the nest. The video was out of my hands. Now the question remained, would I capture the hearts and souls of my audience? Or would they say to one another, that was a pretty good speech, but not as funny as his dad's. I liked that one a lot better than Jason's. Only time would tell. And now, the wedding toast. I'm sharing a shortened version here. I've posted a link to the full-length video in the description below. There's a visual component to the end of my speech that isn't captured here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jason Herderick, Lisa's younger brother. I'm sorry that I'm unable to be there. For those of you that don't know me, I'm currently staying at home recovering from chronic pain. Lisa and I were introduced back in 1990. Our journey through life together has had its ups and downs, and has ultimately shaped us into the people that we are today. Lisa and I shared a bed up until 1995, when I was 5 and she was 7. I meant to say bedroom, not bed. Oops. When Mom would put us to sleep each night and close the door, one of us would get out of bed to open the door to let some light in. We were both terrified of the dark. We would alternate whose turn it was so that neither of us would have to open it 2 nights in a row. Until one night, when we both insisted that we had each opened it the previous night and were too damn stubborn to get out of bed. In doing so, Lisa and I conquered our fear of the dark together. Lisa has always been caring towards all living things. When she was 8, our pet gerbil, Snowball, escaped from its cage. As I tried to track it down, I accidentally broke its back, killing him instantly. Lisa ran upstairs, crying to our dad, insisting that he call an ambulance to get Snowball resuscitated. Unfortunately, our father refused to dial 911 as he was under the impression that ambulances are only for humans. Sorry about that, Snowball. Older sisters are there to remind you of your past mistakes to ensure that they don't happen again. Over the years, Lisa has repeatedly reminded me to remove the plastic wrap off of my mac and cheese before I put it in the oven. She has also repeatedly reminded me that it's a bad idea to break the backs of your pet gerbils when you're trying to get them back into their cage. But in all seriousness, I couldn't have asked for a better sister. Over the past few years, she has been there for me during my darkest times. She has made me laugh when I really didn't have much to laugh about. She has always found time to visit me despite her ridiculously busy work schedule, and has even helped me realize that I have value as a human being despite being cut off from the outside world. My speech would not be complete without a jab at Rod's bald head. You fit in with the rest of our family so seamlessly. Whenever you come over, all of the men in our family feel way less self-conscious about our receding hairlines. Congratulations to Lisa and Rod. I'm so happy for the both of you, and I really wish I could have been there to celebrate with you tonight. I wish you two a lifetime of happiness together. Cheers to Lisa and Rod.
You ever been to a wedding, man? That's another bad idea, dude. Are you reading a dictionary.com definition? A wedding that's happening on the night of the speech. Can't say divorce. 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 Divorce.
I was woken up from a restless night of sleep the morning after the wedding by a flurry of notifications on my phone. First things first, I texted Lisa and Rod to congratulate them for consummating their marriage. Then, I opened a video message from my brother Carl. He had recorded the crowd's reaction to my speech.
Cheers to Lisa and Rod.
I couldn't believe it. That wasn't pity clapping, they were hooting and hollering. And the praise didn't stop there.
You have 4 new wireless voice messages.
Hey Jason, it's Hallie. Hey Jason, it's Emily. Start calling. Not an easy feat to make an entire crowd roar with laughter and then switch gears to a sentimental story and bring them all to tears in the same speech. As much as looking at the video, I was also looking at her and Rod, and she was just overwhelmed with happiness.
I don't watch too much TV, but I'm sure that you get on like Jerry Springer or something with that one.
I always wish that I could be that funny. I try so hard, it doesn't come. They're so lucky to have you as a brother.
I was thrilled by everyone's response, but I still hadn't heard from that one special person.
Whoa, seems like people really liked it.
I know, right?
What did Lisa think? You did talk to Lisa, right?
So Lisa, what was your reaction to my speech?
We really weren't expecting it at all, to be honest. Rod and I were like shocked when all of a sudden people started setting up chairs for us, and there was obviously something that they were trying to hide from us. But we were shocked to see you up on a screen there, and I eventually began piecing things together because I previously had not heard from our DJ, and I tried reaching him on the Thursday night before our wedding, and our wedding was on the Saturday, and he had mentioned something to me when I finally got a hold of him about, oh, your brother was trying to get in contact with me. And I just brushed that aside and basically told him, oh, don't worry, neither of my brothers are organized enough to contact you or actually do anything ahead of time. And I just told him he was confusing me with someone else, and I didn't think anything of it, and I eventually began piecing things together. But Rod and I were so happy to see you and Lily put together such a wonderful video that we were able to see you, and it felt like you were there on our wedding day. It's beautiful.
Perfect. Although I must say it doesn't feel great to see how you think so low of me. You wouldn't think that I would go ahead and do something like this.
I'm sorry to say that, Jason. You were never the most organized when you were growing up, and you always left things to the last minute. You would always be forgetting your jacket or your boots and your homework at school. So you weren't really much of a planner, and you weren't very organized.
Or forgetting my lunch at home. Exactly. Calling mom from the school office.
Yep, exactly.
So you knew ahead of time that I wasn't going to be able to make it there for the wedding. How did that impact you?
I think Rod and I felt guilty that you weren't able to make it all the way up to Elliott Lake just with the travel and being able to kind of be transported in a car. Because at that point in time, I think you were just lying down on a mattress in different vehicles, or specifically a van that my parents were renting or had bought at that time. But yeah, it was kind of sad because we had hoped that you would have recovered to that at that point, that you would have been well enough to come up. But we also we also didn't want to kind of exacerbate your like medical condition at that time and your like level of function. We didn't want to make your symptoms that much worse. And we did understand that you weren't able to make it up there. And that being said, it's really just one day in our lives, and people kind of put it on a pedestal and say it's the most important day of your life, but I don't really necessarily think it is. It is a fun party essentially, but that's really all you're missing at the end of the day.
I haven't heard anyone ever refer to their wedding as just one day in their lives. I sensed that Lisa was stepping into that big sister role, watching over me like a hawk, guarding me from the fear of missing out. So I pressed her further. So I wasn't there to see you walk down the aisle, and I'm not in any of the wedding photos. If you were to look back on things in 10 to 20 years from now, how do you think you would remember my involvement in your wedding?
I think I'll probably just remember our wedding day as the night of the speech, to be honest. I think it stood out a lot, and I think that's what most people were kind of talking about the next day, just kind of how much of an impact you made on everyone there, because not everyone really entirely knew your situation coming in. And I think like Rod and I alluded to it a little bit in our speech, and Mom and Dad alluded it to a little bit in their speech. But for example, Rod's friends who have never met you and don't really know you wouldn't have necessarily entirely known your situation. So I think it shed a little bit of light on kind of what you were going through, and also how close our family was with your speech and kind of the impact. But yeah, I don't know. I think in 10 years from now, I don't think we will be sad that you weren't there. I think we will remember fondly that you definitely had a part in our wedding and probably brought more laughter than would have otherwise been there, even if you had been there.
In chatting with Lisa for this episode, I came to a realization. You never know what you're gonna get with her. Every bite you take is different than the last. She is like the mac and cheese dish that I baked with plastic wrap as a child. On the surface, she can be a bit off-putting. Her outspoken nature may leave a foul taste in your mouth. But beneath all that lies a soft, warm core. I want to return to the mac and cheese story briefly. My mom scolded me that night, and then, in a moment of questionable parenting, she scraped off the gooey plastic surface and fed us the mac and cheese. It didn't taste right. Some of the plastic must have seeped through. She claimed that she was teaching us a lesson about seeing the good in everything. I didn't buy it. I thought she was just being cheap. This lesson has stuck with Lisa, though. Regardless of the person or situation, Lisa is able to separate the plastic from the mac and cheese. She sees Carl kicking me off the couch, breaking my wrist as evidence of her heroism. She sees Rod's calm, welcoming presence, not his lack of hair. She sees my virtual speech as a memorable feature, not as a reminder of my absence. When Lisa would visit me when I was very sick, she didn't see me the way I saw myself. Wasted potential, an emotional wreck, a drain on my loved ones. She was just coming to hang out with her little bro, and for a little while, everything would feel okay. When you spend enough time around Lisa, her glass half full mentality rubs off on you. I no longer feel like I missed out on her wedding. Through the miracles of technology, I was right there with everyone, commemorating in Lisa's many quirks and virtues. And on her big day, Lisa toasted me right back.
Jason, my younger brother, who truly wanted to be here, but was not able to be here with us tonight, has been intricately involved throughout the entire wedding planning process. He played a huge role in my dress selection and has given me advice every step of the way. Jason, I love you so much, and I'm so excited to see what you can do in the coming months.
And I think that ties the knot on this episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of Discomfort Zone, part of the Invisible Not Broken network. If you haven't already, it would be really helpful if you could do these 3 things: subscribe, leave a rating and review, and share this episode with your loved ones. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my handle on social media is DZone Podcast. I'm active on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to check out our official Invisible Not Broken Facebook group. We have community conversations where you can ask questions and connect with others living with chronic illness and disability. This show was written, produced, and sound designed by myself, Jason Harderick. Audio engineering by Justin Meriden. A special thanks to everyone we heard in this episode: Gordo, Barry, my mom, Luke, Emily, Hallie, and last but not least, Lisa. Stay safe out there, everybody.